Welcome to Rooted Commune. I'm Savita. I'm so excited to have you in the first episode of my podcast series, Yes, the Path Beyond School. In today's episode, we'll be discussing about a field that never ceases to grow and never ceases to amaze. Yes, and that's computer science. So you would be a student who have just given your grade 12 exam and just thinking, you know, how to go ahead and what kind of courses should I pick. So I think if you are from a computer science background and watching this episode, I think you have to stay back and watch this episode. So you would have picked computer science as a third academic subject back in your 11th standard. Sometimes you would have been naturally drawn to the field because of your interest, or sometimes you might have taken this because of peer pressure that everyone joins computer science, so I have to do it. So be it anyway, you have decided that computer science is now part of your future, at least now. So you might have questions around it like, I feel computer science is so vast, so I don't know what course should I pick. Should I go with the words like AI, ML, data science, or what is it really? And you might have questions like, I'm not very strong at coding, or I'm not very strong at logic. So what are the other field options that I might have, but I don't want to come out of the tag computer science? I have compiled a set of questions by discussing with students who have doubts, and I'm bringing in an expert to answer these questions. Yes, someone who can talk about computer science as a field, give valuable insights, and share their knowledge about the field. So I'm so excited to have Mr. Vishal Premdas here with me today. He's a project engineer with a vast experience in computer science background. Hello Vishal, welcome to the show. So go ahead and give us an introduction about yourself and also tell us what do you do as a project engineer, how your typical day looks like.
So my name is Vishal and I'm a product engineer at Alden, a startup based in Bangalore. So this is a hospital services company and two of us handle the complete tech for the company. We both generally pick up problem statements and work on solutions for them. So we generally do whatever is needed to solve the problem statement. So it can involve back-end engineering, front-end design, data analytics, etc. So usually there will be 2 or 3 problem statements we pick up for a week and work on. This can simply be a 2-day job like setting up a data upload screen for our staff, or it can be a long-running task. For example, setting up a workflow to move our live data to a warehouse. Now this data can be used for analytics and building dashboards or for our management and things like that. A typical workday consists of focusing on one of these and working with external providers to get the job done. So one such example I can say is processing hospital documents. So this involves setting up a OCR system using AI to read the bills and then building these task dashboards for our staff to verify that the read data is correct and then ingest that into the system.
I think that's very fascinating, and I also think you are in a very dynamic role with multiple responsibilities around. So I think I've picked the right person for this podcast. Yes. So I have a series of questions to ask. I have at least 6 questions noted down. So let me start with the first one quickly. Computer science, I think it's a vast field and it can be a little intimidating too, right? So what are the general misconceptions what the students have about the field, and what should be the reality they should be prepared for when it comes to computer science?
Now a big misconception is that being a good coder is very essential, and if you're not great at coding, you feel that a CS career is not for you. Now there are various subfields in CS that require much less rigor in code proficiency as compared to other skills. For example, if you're good at statistics, mathematics, etc., you could move into data science. Over there, it's more about gathering useful insights from the data to improve business efficiency. So there it's a lot more of data investigation than building projects. Another field would be cybersecurity, which is more about computer networks, infrastructure, etc. And in terms of coding would involve mostly shell scripting. Now, or else you could move into the management side and become a project manager or program manager if you have good leadership and management skills. So there is no need to be discouraged if coding isn't your cup of tea, as there is a lot of areas you can create impact.
Of course, I I think that's incredibly helpful for students. And it is also important for students to, understand the clear picture of what the field is really like. So let me go with my next question. So we all know that computer science is a growing field, a rapidly growing field. So what do you think are the skill sets or mindset the students must be prepared for to be adaptable and place themselves in a successful future? So what do you think are the skill sets that might be helpful?
So, for this, I would say there are two core things. Firstly, it's necessary to be a good self learner, and by that, I mean that you need to have the curiosity to continuously learn new development, even if it is not essential at the moment. Like in my career spanning around 8 years, I worked as a full stack engineer, an ML engineer, and end to end product engineer. So all these jobs happened not because of my day-to-day work learning, but because I had a general interest in learning things on the side. So I'm not saying anyone should exert themselves trying to be cutting edge, but you should keep track of industry events and prepare accordingly and not stagnate. So that is one thing. Secondly, even if the technology keeps improving, every good company will still want the core foundational pieces to be strong. Now, even if I have to talk about software engineering, I would say things like DSA, that is data structure and algorithms, and design patterns will always set you apart as a very proficient engineer. Because these patterns you will use on a day-to-day basis and that improves your code quality. Now, knowing cutting edge tech is just icing on the cake over all these foundational skills.
Right. So, yes. So, you're asking students to focus on the core skills, and you're also telling that lifelong learning is important and that shouldn't stop with your engineering. Yes. So, I have a question. So, what do you think will be the non technical skills, beyond technical proficiency like coding or learning your theories? What will be very important as a non technical skill that you need to sharpen right from the beginning of your studies so that that could place you in a very good future in the field of computer science?
Now, if I have to talk about non-technical skills, while being a strong engineer is needed, building the communication muscle can help fast track your career. By this, I mean being able to articulate your work and progress, or the ability to explain business impact of your work will help expose your abilities to senior folks. This helps expose your true value, as it is not a field where there is physical value in what you do because people can't see that actual value. It's more about the impact it creates. So if you're able to showcase that, that becomes very critical. It tells upper management about how valuable you are to the company. And also even within your peers, being able to explain your work helps you to move things much faster. And secondly would be building your network. Always try to surround yourself with talented people and keep in touch with the people you meet in your career. This has personally helped me a lot. They have given me different perspective or strategies during my career switch. Even I got my current job because the co-founder was my lead in my previous company. So people knowing your worth and keeping in touch with those people means you're not going to have to prove yourself again and again.
That's very encouraging. And I think it's also important to focus on fields, apart from coding and something that's related to computer science as well. So let's speak in that context where computer science has got varied outcomes as a field. Where for some students they land in top companies with good packages and they do a very interesting role there. And what about some students, beyond learning the same curriculum, they land in jobs that are not so equivalent to what they learn, or sometimes that are too monotonous. So how do you think this gap can be bridged? And also let me know, like, how should students proactively practice themselves to land in a good successful career?
Yeah, I honestly don't think there needs to be a pressure to pick up every new tech that comes up. In reality, you will spend a lot of time working in smaller niches. In general, it's more about solving the problem statement than using something new and fancy to do it. So for example, if you look at IT companies that handle large clients, for example, like a big hospital chain or mission critical applications like nuclear reactors. Now it takes a massive amount of resource to migrate to something new, even if it is more efficient. So unless there is enough reason to offset the cost, it's preferable for them to err in the side of caution. So you will be able to find work in legacy applications as well. So even now there is good demand for C++ developers, which is seen as a legacy language. So I don't think there is a pressure needed over there. So success in this field, at least according to me, comes from simply trying, which most people seem to be afraid of. Now there is a lot of difference between your education and your career. During our education, failure has a lot of repercussions. Like failing an exam in school sends you back, failing an exam in college results in an arrear. But during your career, these repercussions are less impactful, and failing an interview is not a big deal. So anyone who is willing to continuously try again and again has generally been able to beat the probability and accelerate their career. After being a proficient engineer, it's more about playing the system. Trying multiple interviews, you can develop an understanding of the patterns and strategies needed to crack them. So there are resources nowadays around this that are very helpful. So that is one way to push yourself forward. Secondly, knowledge of a particular domain can really set you apart. For example, even if you are an average engineer but you have good knowledge of finance, RBI regulations, etc., you are valuable to a fintech company. A lot of people stick to one domain area and their experience becomes more valuable over time than even their technical proficiency. So these are ways you can actually set yourself apart and kind of push yourself forward.
Right, that's very insightful. And I also think you're highlighting a point that we need to take ownership of our career, and that's applicable to all fields, I guess. That's so interesting. And let me move on to my next question. And this question is the most anticipated questions among students as well as parents. That is the package or the salary compensation. And again, with computer science and the kind of job that they do, there are high paying jobs, and some students, they still struggle to reach that high earning potential. So give us a picture, like how is it in India, how is the job market, and what are the factors that influence these salary variations?
See, if we have to talk about purely compensation or salary, it is simply based on what impact you can create at the company. So let's say that you work in a small company that has a small user base. Then even if you build really, really good tech, since the impact is on a smaller user base, the benefit to the company is smaller, and hence your compensation will also be smaller. Now, if you're working on a firm that has a large number of users, if you're able to reduce cost by 5%, it's a large enough impact that you can demand a higher compensation. So either you bring large impact at a small company, which is practically not possible early on in your career, or you bring small impact at a large firm. Secondly, you can be compensated based on the risk you're taking. Now, if you join an early stage startup, now these startups, there is high probability that they can fail or they can succeed. Now, what they do is they tend to give you shares of the company along with the salary. And that is why you see these high CTC numbers for startups, because a lot of it goes into the shares itself and not part of your salary. Now, based on the success of the startup, these shares can end up becoming generational wealth. A lot of the success that is happening in India right now for engineers has been due to these shares vesting and becoming their wealth. So these are ways in which there is high earning potential in this career. But it's just potential until you actually go to actively seek it. So all the points I've talked on before is simply about pushing yourself forward and seeking this higher earning potential.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for participating in this podcast, Vishal. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I think your answers would have definitely influenced students to take their decision when it comes to computer science. So I'll definitely have more and more conversation with Mr. Vishal in future episodes when it comes to computer science as a field and what technologies are in there for you. So let me quickly summarize the points Vishal has given us for the questions. Remember that computer science offers a wide range of career paths beyond just coding. Focus on developing core foundational skills like problem solving, logical thinking, communication, along with technical skills. Non-technical skills are as important as technical skills for career success. While the tech industry is competitive, there are many paths to a fulfilling career. So you have to find your niche and embrace continuous learning and building a strong network. And also, career success depends on combination of skills, experience, and proactive planning. Earning potential in computer science is generally good, but it varies based on several factors like what companies you work with, what projects you're on across. Yes, we have come to the end of today's episode. I hope you got a clear picture from the answers of the computer science expert, Mr. Vishal, and I think you would be able to take informed decisions about your courses now. So, students who have not taken computer science as your major field of study, don't worry. I'm going to come up with new episodes with new fields of study. And for today, I think I should thank you for tuning in. I'll see you soon with my next episode. Thank you.